In this video, we're going to look at what the calculator can do with trigonometric problems. Last video on the TI-89 was on algebra, so today we'll focus on the trig part. You can see from the screen here on the line titled main, you have mine is set to radians. Okay, so always be aware of what you have your calculator set to, especially if you're doing problems involving radians and some with degrees. Make sure you know what you've got. And it's set to auto as far as the calculations go. You can set it to exact, approximate, but auto pretty much takes care of the whole situation. If you want an approximation, you can hit the little diamond here right under the second key and then enter, and it'll give you an approximation. Okay, so we're going to look at then working these types of problems with the TI-89 graphing calculator. The first one is evaluate the sine of 17 pi over 4. Obviously we have it set to, or this is a radian here, and we have it set to radian. So we hit second and then y. We're accessing the sine function here, and then we enter 1/7, and then the second key, and then pi right here. What about this caret here? Divide by 4. Hit enter, and we get the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so that's your exact answer. If you want an approximation, hit the little diamond here, and then hit enter, and you get an approximation for that. Okay, let's clear this. Go to the next one. I want the secant of negative pi over 6. So again, secant is 1 over cosine. So in this case then, I get 1 divided by, and get second, and then z gives me the cosine function there. Enter a negative, and then pi over here, second, divide by 6, hit enter. Okay, your exact answer is 2 times the square root of 3 over 3. Again, you can get an approximation to that by hitting the little diamond here, and then enter, get the approximation. F1 and 8 clears the main screen over here, and then it clear again to clear the line screen here. Okay, on the graph, y equal cosine tx, we go to diamond key and then F1, accessing the graphing menu here. And there I have it already entered. Okay, you enter it over here at the bottom, and then you hit enter, and it puts it over here. So you get y equals cosine of 2x, and then to graph it, again, little diamond, and then F3, accessing the graph function, and there you have your graph. Okay, clear this. Okay, the second one, again, some of these operations and functions are going to be very similar to what we did with the algebra. Okay, here we have cosine of x plus sine of x, quantity squared. So let's go to F2, and here we want to go to expand, number 3, so hit 3, and then enter parentheses here, and then second, cosine of x. Okay. Again, make sure you close the parentheses. This calculator is very picky with parentheses. Okay, some things you can get away with in the TI-83 or 84, you can't get away with the TI-89. Okay, so then get a plus here, second key, and then hit the Y key here. It's getting me the sign here, X, and then parentheses, and then parentheses again, and then the little caret here to get the exponent of 2. Okay, hit enter, and missing parentheses. Okay, so so you can see the mistake there. Like I said, it's real picky here. There's here I got it closed. That right there. Now the caret power, and then the parentheses again. To close it, hit enter, and there you have it. Okay, so it's just like you have x plus y quantity squared. It would be x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. Okay, same sort of thing. What the calculator does, if you actually do this, it's cosine squared plus sine squared, and then the middle term is 2 sine x cosine x, but the calculator recognizes cosine squared plus sine squared as your Pythagorean identity. Okay, cosine squared plus sine squared of any angle is equal to 1. Okay, so you have this 1 right here. Okay, so it recognizes the basic identities. Okay, clear this. Okay, find the exact value of, okay, so we have an inverse function, cosine inverse of minus radical 2 over 2. Okay, so let's go to second, or I'm sorry, the diamond here, because we want the inverse cosine. So second, okay, inverse, okay, cosine inverse, there you have it. And then a minus, and we want the square root symbol, so right here on the times, after you hit the second key, okay, 2, close parentheses there, and then divide by 2, and then close parentheses, and then hit enter. And the calculator gives you cosine inverse of negative radical 2 over 2 is 3 pi over 4 in radians. Okay, so it recognizes what the range for the cosine inverse is, which of course is from 0 to pi. So your answer has to be between 0 and pi, and it does that. Okay, so let's clear this. Go to the next one. This is an equation. So again, just like in the algebra part, go to F2. Number 1 is solve. Okay, so for the trigonometry, we can use the standard solve here. We don't need the C solve. Number 1. And then we enter this 3. We want sine inverse, so we'll get the second key. I'm sorry, again, the diamond. And then the y, you get 3 sine inverse of the variable is x. And this is going to equal to pi, okay, right here where the caret is, so second pi. And then for equations, we need to indicate the variable, so hit the comma, and then x, close parentheses, hit enter, and there we get it. So let's clear this. Okay. Now the next one is your standard trig equation. Again, this is very basic, but again, if you got some more complicated equations, it works the same way. And normally when you're solving a trig equation, it's not an inverse trig equation. Usually the instructions will ask you to give the answer in the interval from 0 degrees to 360. So x has to be greater or equal to 0 degrees, less than 360 if it wants the answer in degrees. Or if you're dealing with radians, the solution has to be between 0 and 2 pi. So x will be greater than or equal to 0 radians, but less than 2 pi radians. Okay, so you get the solutions in that interval, and then of course you can get what is called the general solution or the complete solution by just adding multiples of 2 pi, or if you're dealing with degrees, multiples of 360. Okay, so it would be n times the pi, or n times the 2 pi I should say, or n times the 360. Okay, so we're going to give the answer here in between 0 and 2 pi, and that's going to be in radians. So we're going to go to solve, and then we're going to enter this second, and then sine, and then the variable is x, and this is going to equal 2, 1, divide by second, then square root key here, this will be 2, and then indicate the variable, comma x, close parentheses, and then hit this right under the equals, this bar right here. This is such that, okay, now we're going to put the restriction on the x, okay? So we're going to want, say, x to be greater than 0. In this case, we're giving the answer in radians, okay? Have the calculator set to radians. So this will be 0, and then we'll go to second. Number 5 is getting math, and then 8, and 4. Okay, so we want then x to be greater than or equal to 0, and this is radians. And then we go back to that same menu second. Number 5 is math. Number 8, we want the word and. Okay, so this is 8, and then we want x again, and this time again back to that same menu second, 5, 8, and here we want less than, number 2, and then 2 pi, so 2 second, and then 2 pi, and hit enter. Okay, so my solutions are 3 pi over 4, okay, pi over 4, okay. So those are the solutions in that interval where x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 2 pi. Again, if you want this complete solution, you would just say 3 pi over 4 plus n times 2 pi, okay. In other words, adding a multiple of 2 pi, because that's the radian, that's the period of your sine function, and then the other general solution would be pi over 4 plus n times 2 pi. Okay, so just adding multiples of 2 pi's to those two solutions, you get the complete solution. Let's clear this, and then on this one right here, we want sine x, 1 plus cosine x plus 1 plus cosine x, sine of x. Okay, so we want to combine this. Okay, so what is this equal to? Okay, so if you do it on the calculator, we go to F2, and here we're combining expressions here. So we've got number 6, common denominator, and this will be then sine of x divided by, okay, I need parentheses here, so parentheses, and then this is 1 plus second, getting cosine of x, close parentheses, and then close parentheses again, and then plus, and then parentheses again. This would be 1 plus second, and then we've got cosine of x, close parentheses, then close parentheses again, and then divide, and then this will be sine, so this will be second sine of x, close parentheses, and then close parentheses again here. And let's see if we need the variable on this. Hit enter. No, we don't need to indicate the variable. Okay. So this finds your common denominator and combines it, and it gives you 2 over sine of x. 2 over sine of x. Okay. Now remember, if you know your basic identities, trig identities, you could also write that as 2 cosecant of x. 2 times cosecant of x. Okay. But this is a solution. Now let's do one more here. Let's suppose, just point something out to you here. Let's put number 1 there. And I'm going to indicate, let's say we want to solve sine of x. Just to give you another type of example. I'm going to give you one that has no solution. So let's solve sine of x is equal to 2. Okay. Remember, the sine is just like a cosine is contained between -1 and 1. So you can't have the sine of an angle larger than 1. So this should have no solution. So let's put a comma there and then an x to indicate the variable. Okay. So again, when the calculator gives you false, okay, that means there is no solution. Now you're dealing with polynomials and so forth. Polynomial equations, you can get imaginary values, but for trig functions, we simply say there's no solution. Okay, so that's what you're going to get if your equation has no solution. The calculator will say false. Okay, hope this helps you out. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.